SFAA's first 20. Let me
Now
try
you
this
go,
again.
Annie.
Welcome, everybody, to SFAA's first 2026 Spotlight Talk with the infamous Vale. I should tell you, he does have a birth name, which is Vale Hamanaka. So just to give, the physical fact of his life. So I'm just going to give a brief description, which is really difficult to do, a short, how to summarize Vale's life because it's so jam-packed. So, and by the way, my name is Annie Reiniger, SFAI, graduated BFA 1980. So Vale, I have to say, is many things. He's a publisher, an editor, primary contributor to books and magazines, created his own publishing company, research publications. He's also a musician, an interviewer, a TV host, and can be a founding and was claimed to be a founding member of the band Blue Cheer. Vail got his his BA in English literature from UC Berkeley. Later, he moved to San Francisco Haight-Ashbury neighborhood, and in the mid-60s, just as the hippie movement began. In the 70s, he moved to North Beach, first living across the street from SFAI with a view of the pain department, and he lived in an apartment building filled with SFAI students such as Karen Finley, faculty member Dick Miller, who wrote a book on the history of Bohemia, and then his roommates, Kirk LeClaire and his neighbor, Wayne Zebsta, and many other students. It was a kind of a lively building. He moved once more in his life close to City Lights Bookstore, and he is there to this day. So Vale worked at City Lights Bookstore as well. So he started the influential punk rock magazine, Search and Destroy, and published 11 issues. He went on to create research books on many underground topics, interviews with like William S. Burroughs, J.D. Ballard, Modern Primitives, Bruce Conner, Ed Hardy, George Kuchar. So I think we're going to start out with images of bio pictures of Vale as a young kid, teenager. And then after that, the images are going to be random pictures from his magazines and the zine, Search and Destroy. So at the end of this talk, there'll be 10 minutes where we're going to have a question and answer period. And that's when everybody at the very, very end, we're going to show you who's here, and everybody can wave back and let them say hi to you. So this talk is being recorded and posted on our website and YouTube channel. Okay, so let's take a look at some of those photos. So Bea, how old do you think you are here? Are you like 16?
Oh, yeah, 16 is a good guess. High school.
I, I see that heavy duty typewriter behind you. Like, I mean, that was not a Selectric IBM.
No, it's before Selectric 2s were invented, but the
Oh,
Selectric 2s were really important to my first publication because you could do corrections on them. That's super amazing. And you could change fonts, so you could emphasize words by changing the little ball on the typewriter and getting an italic. And or you could even use a totally different font than the text font. So
they
anyway,
were they were like the Mercedes of typewriters, that Selectric, IBM Selectric. But
yeah,
I think when this is a good picture to talk about, maybe we go to the next slide and show you started out as an early entrepreneur, and here's your early advertising.
yeah, that's from high school actually. I guess it's an, I don't remember doing this, but there it is. It's an ad I put up trying to get some business.
We should remind everybody probably minimum wage was 50 cents.
Yeah,
So you
maybe
earned a good
75.
75. So
Maybe.
look, you have evenings. So can we go to the next slide? Now here's an adult.
Right, that's me. I lived at a place in North Beach for a number of years, and I guess I'm sitting behind a genuine wooden clavichord, which I used to
Oh,
play. It's very quiet, but the advantage of a clavichord over a harpsichord or piano is that you can actually get a vibrato by hitting a note up and down real fast or slower. So it was a fun instrument to play. I was really into very early classical music, pre-Bach, you could say.
Oh, wow.
Um, anyway, that's my friend Ricky Trant standing there, who became my co-editor or assistant editor when I started Search and Destroy in 1977.
Oh, wow. So let's see your next slide. Oh, there it is.
There I am at the clavichord, proof.
And then you started at age 5 learning piano, right?
Yeah, at some age like that. My mother gave me lessons, and but then I found I could play by ear really early, super fast, and so I started playing rock and roll, which was not. It was there weren't any books then telling you how to play rock and roll, but Jerry Lee Lewis and Little Richard, they practically did everything in the key of C, and if you have a good ear, you can hear that and you can play it. And
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, key of C is the easiest key to play in when you're
Is that right in the middle of the keyboard?
Yep, middle
Yeah.
C they call it.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. So let me see the next slide. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the my hippie career as a founder, as a founding member of Blue Chair, and there we are with a Hell's Angel behind us, right at the corner of Haight and Ashbury. People didn't have cameras back then like they do now, and so I was lucky that I had a number of pictures taken of me that day. Practically the only pictures that I have from the hippie days.
Oh, wow. And I think you were talking once, I heard you say that when you were living in the Hague, it was kind of it was
Oh
before
yeah.
68.
Oh yeah. No, it was the real. Everyone who was there knows that the real Summer of Love was 1966 before it got 67. 100,000 barefoot young white kids
Is
pilgrimage to
that-
the Haight, expecting to be fed and housed for free, and that was a disaster. It became a huge criminal area. Everyone I
yeah.
know got their house broken into.
Wow.
You don't read that much. That's so much when you're reading about the history of the hippie days.
The summer of love or
Yes, so
summer of
called.
theft.
Yeah, summer of theft.
That's a kind of cool looking crowd. I mean, you have sort of the back to nature look with the,
The band. That's because this is the first time in a long time that men were allowed to have long hair.
it was a big deal. Yeah, you were sometimes your life was threatened if you had long hair. But so what was Blue Cheer? They started out as what, rock
Well,
and
it
roll?
was well. They started out as an imitation of an earlier band from Chicago called the Paul Butterfield Blues Band. And when I joined the band, I saw a sign at a, a, a small sign at the psychedelic shop, which was just about 100 feet from where we're standing. It was on Haight near Ashbury, and at the very front, they had a bulletin board for ads. And I saw an ad that said blues band forming dash like Paul Butterfield, drummer wanted. But I didn't play drums, but I called them up and went down to see them. They were at Haight and Fillmore, the Blue Cheer House, and I asked if I could play because Paul Butterfield had a four-piece organ player named Mark Naftalin, and I am of course I imitate. I played those records like mad and learn how to play a whole bunch of songs. That's how you learn from records, playing them over and
Hmm,
over.
that's
And
great. And
yeah,
then I think they decided to change what they wanted to do
yeah. Well,
Blue
that was
Cheer.
July 15th, or it's either the 15th or the 17th of 1967. They kicked me out because um, they everyone saw two power trios. The first that we ever knew that existed. First one was Cream from England, Eric Clapton, and
Hmm.
Jack Bruce and Ginger Baker, and then we saw the Jimi Hendrix Experience, and that was pretty amazing. And so Blue Chair, the other guys said, uh,
They
"That's what we should do."
cut the
And
band in half.
yeah, yeah, just three superstars,
And
and so the rest of us were kicked out.
well, I think they were well known, but they didn't last long, did they?
I think they lasted several years. They put out
That's
several
good.
albums,
Well, they
and
were, I guess, right at the height of, the whole rock and roll
yeah,
experience that was happening.
yeah, they
So,
that was the well. Actually, it's still true that you have to have a hit record, and they had an early hit record with "Summertime Blues,"
it's,
and one
it's
called "Doctor Please."
it's a great photo. It's
Yeah,
really
I'm lucky it
got a
was
lot of interesting people in there.
yeah, you can see uphill from on Ashbury Street.
Yeah.
Grateful Dead house is 2 blocks up
Oh, wow.
left.
We just lost one of the
Oh
great.
God, you know what was great though about Blue Chair is that we had we had three managers and one of them was a Hell's Angel. That's why that Hell's Angel guy is probably there because I think our Hell's Angel manager is in the background hidden. But the manager had a store on 24th Street near South Van Ness called Joint Ventures, a pun on joint, hippie
Oh, yeah.
joint. And
Hot.
and so he had a small store there, and and people lived upstairs in the whole building, friends, and that's where we rehearsed in the basement. And one of the most memorable times of rehearsals was when Neil Cassidy, he's like
Uh,
Jack Kerouac's pal from On the Road. He'd come down there and he'd be wearing a short sleeve T-shirt with a cigarette pack in the sleeve, and then he'd come down there, and when we were rehearsing, he'd start dancing like mad, sweat
oh, wow.
pouring out of him underneath his light bulb. Sort of close his eyes and just start really dancing up a storm, and that was kind of amazing. I think I was out of the whole band, I was the only one maybe who really knew
Who he
who
was.
who he was because the other guys were too young. I mean, they didn't read that much, and I did. I read like mad all my life, and of course I knew who Neil Cassidy was, On the Road, etc.
Well, On the Road was pretty fresh at that time when it came out, right? When did it
Oh,
come out? In the
I
late
don't know.
50s?
It came out in it seems like 58 or 57
Yeah.
around there that it started selling copies. And I don't remember when it was. It must have been published before then, but it took a while for it to become
Catch
kind
on.
of an underground classic to ignite into action other people who wanted to imitate what they thought was the beat lifestyle. And in this case, it would be the hippie lifestyle now.
Yeah. I'm not sure the Beats were happy with the hippies, but
Well, I mean,
did they look down on them a little bit?
I don't think so. I mean, Neil Cassidy had these wrecked, these really old, big '70s cars. I don't know where he got them because he never worked. I don't know where he got his money, but and I remember him driving us several times back and forth from the Blue Chair House to the rehearsal space on 24th Street.
Oh, wow.
And I remember one time, I think the brakes didn't work, so he was really an expert at downshifting and then using the emergency brake at the last second when
Oh,
we were
wow.
at the intersection. So it was kind of hairy riding the car with him. It was definitely exciting.
That's how it was. It's kind of low budget cars, huh?
Yeah, low budget.
So that's pretty great. And who are these gentlemen?
Oh, to my left is Howard Hart. He's a bona fide beatnik. He's a poet from New York. He was in the book called The Beat Scene. They have a picture of him and a poem by him. And then to my right is, well, he worked for the post office. What can I say? He's just someone I knew.
That's great. And I thought at first that was a joint, but it's a cigarette. Yeah.
Oh, oh, really? I don't know.
No, it's a cigarette.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's me with my second girlfriend I ever had, Vermilion, and we had a band that never went anywhere called the Rabbit Foot Minstrels. I think there's a date there.
May 14th, 1974.
I'm glad somebody
Yeah.
took the picture. It wasn't someone else took it, obviously. It does look posed.
Did you perform live with the
Um,
minstrels?
I don't think so. If we, I don't think we ever got a real live gig. You're right. That's kind of sad, but that's life.
It's sort of friends hanging out and jamming together, or
Yes.
oh, that's great.
And we never made a recording, not even a tape.
Oh no,
I know. And here, there's Vermilion and I with someone we don't know at the Art Institute,
the cafe
the cafe. Exactly.
looks like nighttime.
Yeah, nighttime, indeed. Nighttime is the right time. And let's see.
Let's look at, she's doing a little dance, huh?
Yeah. And this is like 1968 or 9, one of those years.
69.
Oh, 69. Yeah. I I was living in North Beach at 28 or 26 Genoa Alley, and my neighbor right across the way was Valerie Estes, and her boyfriend was Richard Brodigan, famous.
Wow.
So in February '69, I guess we shared a birthday party, a big party. A lot of people came. Janis Joplin came, but she was already really drunk, and other sort of famous people came.
So this is over on Kearney Street. So it
Yeah,
was south of Broadway there.
yeah, it's the other side of 20. The building went across. It was a big apartment building, and it had entrances on Kearney and on Genoa Alley.
Hmm.
And so we had sort of a double party there. People could go back and forth between the apartments. Seemed like it was fun.
Yeah, look at that cake. It's glowing.
Glad someone took this picture, whoever it
Yeah,
was.
that's a great photo. All right.
Oh yeah,
Ah,
and then
here you are.
yeah, there I am at I guess it was 60, late 67 or early 68 that I got hired to work at City Lights Bookstore, which is kind of a dream job for a lot of people. And there I am working at the cash register. That's when the store was a lot smaller than it is now. It was just that little area right there, and then downstairs was the real store, the basement.
Yeah.
But they bought
It,
the whole building and expanded it all directions. There's a
oh, wow.
poetry room now on the third floor. That was never there before. And the main floor, they have events. And it's right across from where the cash register is. There's a large room or two.
I remember this room.
Good.
That's like when you first walk in, isn't it?
And as soon as you walk in to the left
Yeah.
of the large rack of contemporary magazines, a lot of people would come in like Bruce Conner regularly just to look at the magazines like once a week.
I think City Lights was like a pilgrimage place for people to go.
Yes,
And
it was.
it was like the bookstore.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely was
Historical.
a destination. And you could, even in the punk days, there were hardly any places where you could hang out. You could just go somewhere and, sit for free and be entertained. And City Lights became kind of a slight punk meeting place in the 70s. People would, everyone knew to go to City Lights, and you'd probably run into someone you know, and you could read all the books for free, etc.
Well, this is pre-internet,
Oh,
so
definitely.
this was going to a bookstore was the thing
Yeah, and
to get
pre
information and hang out and meet people.
yeah.
You know,
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
I
I always
took.
thought it was better to meet people in bookstores and bars.
Yeah, that's
It
hey,
just
that's
seemed
pot. I never drank, so I never ever went to bars.
I didn't drink either, so it was like not an option for me. I just
Right. And
so Vermillion worked there as well.
well, she worked at the publish. I got her a job working in the publishing end, which was in a building 4 blocks away, right at the corner of Grant and Filbert. They had that whole building. Ferlinghetti even lived in an apartment there above it, but then it became kind of a guest apartment for visiting writers. And I remember Charles Bukowski came, and he was such a drunk.
Oh,
He gave a very entertaining reading in which it looks like he drank the contents of an entire case of beer or something right in front of us. And
oh wow.
I know it was, I hope someone videoed that. And then Bukowski stayed in the apartment, but he broke a window. That was kind of uncool.
That's kind of his personality, right? I mean,
Yeah. And Shig
yeah.
was the Japanese American manager who hired me to work at City Lights. He hired a number of Japanese people to work there because I guess he trusted the culture, the Asian American culture,
Yeah.
and then the black person to the left of Shig is Bob Kaufman, one of the only black beat poets
Wow,
that I know of.
that's interesting.
Oh yeah, there I am working a little bit. This is later. This is in the 70s now.
So when you were working in a bookstore then, if people called up and said, "Do you have this book?" You just sort of knew it by heart because you shelved it all, or you didn't
Well,
have
yeah,
like
you were
internet.
supposed to. You were right. You're supposed to know the contents of the whole story. You had to kind of try to memorize everything. And
Yeah,
but people didn't call up so much, and with that question, thank goodness. I mean, they just came and browsed. Oh yeah,
yeah,
check the history section, or check literary criticism, or check the occult section. I remember when one of my most spectacular moments working at City Lights is when Yoko Ono and John Lennon came to town, and they were
yeah.
doing some kind of sleep in at a Fairmont hotel or something. I mean, this is the history books, and they came to City Lights, and there was someone I knew. I asked them if they'd watch the cash register for me. I took them downstairs, and I sold them like I don't know, it was like about $145 worth of occult books.
Oh, wow.
I kind of really knew that section because of my mentor, Philip Lamontia, he knew all those books. I mean, he was an autodidact scholar of many things, besides being a surrealist slash beat poet. And so I knew I just had them get all these kind of classic books on tarot and the I Ching and astrology, and I don't know what else is considered occult, but
Well, I think those, and I think they're both pretty good readers.
yeah.
I think they were
But
thirsty,
that was like
well
John
read.
Lennon, Yoko
Yeah.
Ono. I sold them $145 worth of occult books.
That's kind of amazing.
Yeah,
That you met one of for me, the important beetle. Yeah.
yeah.
So, and then, okay. Oh, here we go. Rough trade.
Well, because of Search and Destroy magazine, which went all over the world, the guy who founded Rough Trade, he liked Search and Destroy magazine so much, he came to San Francisco and said, I want to open up a branch of Rough Trade Records, which is in London, of course, um, in San Francisco. And so I, of course, immediately rented an office or a storefront a block from where I still live at Romolo. And and we set up Rough Trade Records. That was a fun job for a couple of years. People would come in and they'd want to hear records, or you'd play records that you hoped they would then buy. And
So was Rough Trade, it was like a record store and also a producer of records, right?
Yes, they were a record label. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. And they sold a lot of independent records. Like it says they're punk, electronic, industrial, reggae. Yeah, badges, right. Or buttons. And then,
Oh, right.
yeah, that,
And fanzines.
yeah, yeah, it
That's,
was, the,
that's kind of an interesting list there of what after rock and roll, then you had, it
right,
wasn't just punk that was happening. And there was punk and new wave, which I never understood the difference for a while. Like
right.
who was what I think like new wave was
Record company label.
probably um Eurythmics or something. I didn't really, and punk was to me sort of a little rougher,
Right,
louder,
more primitive.
primitive, yeah. And electronica, that was sort of new. And
That was
industrial, I
totally new.
thought industrial were like the German guys who would come and
Well,
play.
electronic music was started in the 70s to 80s because the Moog synthesizer and other synthesizers had just been invented, and punk kids were buying them and making music with them, seeing what they could do. So that's still kind of exciting. There's a lot of obscure recordings from the 80s, or rather late 70s to early 80s and throughout the 80s that coming out in, like, I don't know, Belgium, France, Germany, and a lot of these records are still kind of sound kind of avant-garde or interesting to me at least. And
Yeah.
they never got famous, a lot of these groups.
Did you say the term pub groups? That's a
And
British thing, right?
it's British.
What's a pub
Pop,
group?
I don't know. I guess maybe the Clash were called that real
What,
early, like
did they
bands
just
that were,
play in small pubs? Is that what?
yes, exactly. That's the only, they didn't have professional clubs so much then anywhere in the world. So in England, um, which is a huge city, by the way, if you've never been there, and they would, yeah, the certain bands would play pubs. I mean, I wasn't there, so I don't really know the history on a first-hand basis, but um,
Yeah, I've seen the term and I wasn't sure like what that meant. But
yeah,
um
I can't
well, that
think.
was Rough Trade sort of I think some of the punk bands at SFAI might have been a little bit part of Rough Trade. I'm not sure.
Well, I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
I mean,
But there was like there was Rough Trade and then there was like the big record labels like EMI or something who were
well,
big,
there's Tower Records, and Tower
right?
Records had very hipster buyers, and so they would get punk records as soon as they came out from all over the world and sell them there.
But there's a place in Berkeley too that was really famous for records, a record store that everybody went to, but I'm blanking on the name. Um, but Tower Records was down the street from where you lived when you were
Yeah,
across from the Art
yeah,
Institute.
very close next to the Art Institute, practically.
Yeah,
And yeah, Tower Records was definitely a weekly destination because they also got in a lot of magazines, and
yeah.
go down there and read the magazines or buy them or both. And this
I don't know.
photo here, where that's like practically the first punk show at the Mabuhay Gardens, which was not so famous then. It was a Filipino supper club, nightclub, served food, but then they needed more people, and a guy named Dirk Dirksen came in and talked the Filipino owner Nessa Quino for, can I have Monday nights, and then he expanded to practically every night. He put on punk shows. He was a very good curator because he had very low standards. In order to get a gig there, all he had to do was supply a cassette tape with some songs or whatever he called them, tunes, instrumentals, and then you also had to supply a photograph of your so-called band or whatever it was, and that's for performance art by itself sort of got a start there also at the Mad, because it was such a low bar to entry. Anyone could go up and stand up and, I don't know, just extemporize and have a noise going on behind them from synths or any a friend just jamming behind them. Those were fun days because there was so much spontaneous creativity happening right before your eyes at this club, the Buhai Gardens.
It
And
seemed like a lot of music with the bands sometimes became more performative art, conceptual art,
yes,
like
yeah,
they were a mix of,
a
you know,
mix.
art students. Maybe they couldn't play their instruments well. Some did. Some
Well,
did
that
much
was a
better.
great thing about punk. You could pick up a guitar and a week later start a band, three chords, and it was the philosophical underpinnings of punk was spontaneous, do it yourself, spontaneity, and don't be so rehearsed. And you should do black humor critiques in your lyrics of the society, everything that you think is wrong with society. So that was a good outlet for a lot of young people, and all over the world actually. And they came. Famous song from the Sex Pistols was called "Anarchy in the UK," but then no one knew what anarchy was, but we sort of thought we did. And
They were also got a lot of help from Malcolm McLaren, who
oh,
he was
McLaren,
another art school. He was great at promotion. He was
and
a
he
publicist.
was also well read, and he knew
Yeah.
all about situationism. So he was in New York, and he saw the beginnings of punk there with Patti Smith and Tom Verlaine and Sam Shepard, people like that. And he took the idea to London and on King's Road started a shop. And he was just hoping that punk would start in London. And sure enough, a lot of kids came and hung out at his shop and then and started bands like the Sex Pistols. And well, McLaren managed them. And he did kind of found himself picking out people who were smart and sassy and had some musical talent.
I think he liked it to have a kind of a shock value.
Oh yes,
Fans had to have this shock value to get
yeah,
attention.
definitely. And a lot of women were very famous from the early punk days. Oh, you know what spread punk all over the world were the four British music weeklies called NME, New Musical Express, Sounds, and there's one called Disc and Record Mirror or something. There's one more
Hmm.
magazine, but they were starved for content because they're musical weeklies on large tabloid sheets of paper. So they gave a generous amount of coverage to the earliest punk bands, interviewing them with photos and etc. They spread the punk virus more than anything else, I think.
Obviously, people were hungry for that.
Yeah, yeah, and
Well, because you didn't have the internet, and all you had was like commercial radio, and then a couple underground,
yeah.
nonprofit radios, and
There
so
was underground
record stores and
record
bookstores.
record stores and radio programs in San Francisco. They were around Aquarius Records, I guess, in the Mission. Oh yeah, there's me next to photographer Ruby Ray, and
Great photo.
yeah, that was.
So maybe we're talking about clubs and music. We should talk about like the beginnings of Search and Destroy. Like, how did that come about? Like,
Oh yeah, this is me before I started Search and Destroy, just barely. I had a band. Oh, and there's me with Trudy, but she's from LA. That's a Bruce Conner photo. That's
wow,
that. And there's Search and Destroy.
first
My
cover.
first, yeah, my first publication, and yeah, I wanted to. The impetus for Search and Destroy was Andy Warhol's Interview magazine, because the first 10 issues of Interview were very primitive and they're all black and white, no color at
Hmm.
all. And I thought, oh, that's perfect for me to imitate. I liked that format because you could have huge centerfolds of bands you could put on your walls or whatever, or large charts. And so,
Yeah, they're pretty big.
yes, and
So, so
Interview
I the story
magazine.
is you got started with sharing your idea with a couple poets who,
Well, what happened was I needed money to. I had an idea of doing a punk version of Warhol's Interview magazine, and so, but I needed money because the printing presses, there are a couple of them, they're long out of business, but it was expensive to do this process. I mean, it was like
yeah,
hundreds of dollars or $500. Yeah, there's issue number 2. That's one of the best covers
yeah,
I ever did.
Diva and Clash.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I always think people, just to remind people that there was no Macintosh at the time. So it was all cut and paste.
definitely.
And
And
then type it on your Selectric and then you print it out and blow it up and
get with
go
photos. Photos were very
photos.
important. Oh, there's the mutants in that cover. That's the very last issue.
Oh, wow.
The
So there were
mutants from
12
the Art
issues, right?
Institute. Well, there are 11.
I mean, 11. Yeah,
Mutants came out of the Art Institute.
right.
That's Devo. Devo came here early in 1977, so they got into my second issue of Search and Destroy and the third issue. And I thought Devo were kind of revolutionary. They're, the idea that society is devolving, not evolving,
The evolution. Yeah,
evolution. And
that's great.
I know, well, there's kind of a lot to that theory.
Yeah, I like, well, I think a lot of your premises also like is sort of anti-status quo.
Oh, definitely. If
And
that punk was all about that, making fun of the status quo and a sort of black humor critique of the status quo as much as possible. And there's the mutants again from
on the right there.
Art,
Yeah,
Art Institute. And they there's starting to be punk shows happening at the Art Institute. I think they're under documented, but I remember going to,
yeah,
this is like the band called the Screamers, who they were kind of my favorite band at the time because they didn't use
yeah.
guitars. They were rebels. We're not using guitars, only synths and a drummer. And Singer was very confrontational. I mean, he'd go out into the audience and sort of scream or sing right in people's faces, like one to one. And it was, again, that was a great time. Oh yeah, and there's Pink Section in the middle. That's another Art Institute band. Matty Matt Heckard in the center of the center photo. He went on to form Survival Research Laboratories with Mark Pauline, and they did these amazing SRL sort of machine shows with lots of explosions and fires and flamethrowers, and they invented a lot of stuff
Yeah.
put on a show. Oh yeah, that's Nick Dean and Judy Nylon at the bottom from England. I mean,
Exhume, I thought was a great LA band.
yeah, they were. That's their first time they came up here. I mean, Exene herself is a real character. Oh, well, did I say that a lot of the early punk bands that that I gave attention to were founded, and they featured women as in the lead, not men. A lot of, and gay men too. Like my singer in my band, Grand Mal, Don Vineal, you saw him earlier. He was definitely gay, but definitely in your face. He was very funny. This is a band called Crime.
Oh, they're big, yeah.
They're one of the first bands. And this is a very early punk guy from LA called Black Randy. I think he was even in the New York punk scene before he moved to LA. And oh yeah, we had I could put anyone I wanted in Search and Destroy, and so I put Russ Meyer because I don't know, everyone hopefully by everyone had seen Faster Pussycat Kill Kill. It's an amazing film he made. If you haven't seen it, just rent it immediately and show it. Tourist Satan had these kind of revolutionary women. You'll have to. I don't want to wreck the film for you, but you'll have to see it.
Maybe just explain that they're all just pages.
These are all pages from Search and Destroy.
Yeah.
Right.
So can I ask a question? The title Search and Destroy, where did you get that from? Is that
Well, there's actually a book that I read in, I don't know, 1970 or something called Search and Destroy. It was all about the Vietnam War, which was very bad war for America to get involved in. And America sent out these search and destroy teams to do assassinations in Vietnam. And the book came out, but then Iggy Pop did a very famous song called Search and Destroy. And so sort of a double whammy. It was a double pun to pick that as a title. And I also like the idea of using a verb for a publication title or publishing company, like research and search and destroy. I mean, those are verbs.
Yeah. Huh.
Not nouns. But that was kind of conscious. Oh yeah, that's the Avengers. One of the very early band, direct from the Art Institute. I mean, here Penelope is like at the most 19 years old.
Yeah. I remember her.
Yeah, dared to cut her hair really short and bleach it, and spike it, and all that. And that's her boyfriend, the drummer,
Danny.
Fullerton. Yeah, Danny. Yeah, there's the Avengers.
Isn't that an SFAA?
Oh, that could be an SFAI where this photo was taken. Fake crucifixions.
So I'm just going to give
There's Iggy Pop. Yeah, he's the guy that wrote Search and Destroy, which is and he did an early album before punk happened that was sort of like ahead of its time for predicting punk rock.
I think he was like 69.
Yeah, 69, exactly. That's way early for punk rock.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff brewing in the 60s, the hippie thing that actually took time to mature and come up into the punk thing, right?
Yeah. This is the Feeders from Arizona. The guy Frank Discussion was all about situationism, and he started this band, the Feeders. He's a pretty outrageous person. You can see we photo shoot. We went down to the beach, and he found a starfish, and he had it in his mouth.
Oh God.
For the photo op. This is down at just past the Art Institute, Ghirardelli Square area where the beach is.
Oh yeah.
Found that on the sand.
I'm going to give you a heads up that we only have maybe 5 minutes left. So should we move on to research itself?
Jesus, time.
I know we need about 3 interviews with you.
Wow, time just flew.
We'll have to do part 2.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, Burroughs is very important. Was very important to the punk movement because almost all the bands that I interviewed, I'd look at their bookshelves and they all had Burroughs books. And then I became a huge fan of J.G. Ballard because Burroughs wrote an introduction for an early book of his called Love and Napalm, Export USA. But the British title for the book was called A Trust Exhibition. Anyway, there's me, Mark Pauline, Johnny Strike from Crime, and William Burroughs at a birthday party for Burroughs in what year was that? 81, maybe. Yeah. And
Wow.
anyway, Burroughs' books were very important. And then I tried to turn punk people on to J.G. Ballard by printing a big interview with him and an interview with Burroughs in Search and Destroy number 10. Yeah, so.
Can I ask a quick question? There was some story about you were hanging out with Burroughs and you guys were throwing knives.
Oh, well, that was when in 1988, I went and took care of Burroughs while his manager, I don't know, went to San Francisco. I went to Lawrence, Kansas, where he was living, and was his like cook and chauffeur and all that stuff. Shopped for him, and in '88, one of the things he did was give me knife throwing lessons at one of the buildings on his property, like his art studio. Oh yeah, that's me doing my first big interview with Burroughs at a party on Visadero Street, and I'm glad someone took that photo. And that's my first research book in book format. We had Burroughs, Throbbing Gristle, Brian Geisen, which were those.
Which everybody should buy.
Yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah.
That one.
Also the J.G. Ballard. You were really close with J.G. Ballard, it seemed like, that you.
Yeah, well, as close as you can be when he lives in
England.
Shepperton, England. Shepperton is a small town about an hour away from London, but it's famous because the James Bond films were. Shepperton was the home of these huge filmmaking studios, like James Bond movies.
Wow.
I know. So that's Shepperton. I went there a number of times and interviewed Burroughs, and then he came to Ballard. Sorry, and he also came to my house a number of times, and I taped him. And I got to drive him around to the Bay Area when he came here several times. And
there's so much more to talk about, but so I want to give you, do you want to talk about Bruce Conner, or who else would you want to add into this?
Bruce Conner, you're if you want to publish, you need a lot of friends to help you. And Bruce Conner would come in every week to City Lights Bookstore where I worked and read the magazine. So I just befriended him. And then I told him, hey, there's this thing happening now called punk rock. And if you take photos and give them to me, I'll give you a press pass, and then you can get in for free and be part of the in group of the Search and Destroy staff. So he readily assented to that. And so that's why I have a bunch of Bruce Conner photos in my publication.
Oh, that's pretty good. And this is research.
Right.
J.G. Ballard.
Right.
I think you've written, you tend to make these lists, like how to live a good life, or core principles of creativity.
Right.
And then you've had these other lists I saw, which were what makes I think it was like what makes a timeless work. And one of the things you talked about was you have to mention poetry and metaphor.
Right.
In whatever you're doing, and not to be literal. You were anti-literal.
I was surrealist. I say be surreal, don't be realist. Surrealism was a war against realism.
Yeah,
says all power to your imagination. And if you don't like the world you're living in, invent a new one for you. And surrealism is punk and surrealism, I think, those are the two words that would define me and my publishing and my philosophy of life. Surrealism is very deep. if you start investigating it, there's like thousands of old magazines and books and everything you'll discover. Get a librarian to help you find them. There's like so many. Whenever there's anything surreal, it's like in a bookstore, I'd buy it, but there's way more that is harder to find.
Yeah. It's it's probably been around a lot longer than we think too.
Oh yeah.
A
What
lot of
made it?
I think we're like punk and the hippie, it's all an extension of bohemian culture that's 300-400 years old, which was all about,
Yeah, it's
I
a
think it
rebellion,
was about
rebellion,
creativity and freedom and
rebellion
um,
against the status quo. Right,
right, not adhering to the status quo.
right.
So I think people think of them as gypsies, but they were nomadic also as a nomadic people. And
Well,
they didn't care about money. They cared about living experiences.
yeah, they cared
So
about surrealism, very subversive philosophy to make you
yeah,
see behind the veneers of so-called civilization into something deeper in the background. And there's Bruce Conner. I took that picture of him. That's Bruce Conner in my house.
wow.
And oh yeah, the A-hole gallery was the local place. Bruce Pollock put it on, and they showed live performances, early performance art, and movie showings. And that
Yeah, that was a great place. That was a,
yeah, that's my photo book, Underground Living. It's the cover photo was taken at a Target video party, one of the first ones in which, and these really young teenage punk rockers showed up. Because when punk started in San Francisco, I'd say most of the people were older, very few young people. There were a handful of super young people, 14, 15, 16. But in this is a party, I'd say 1980, 79, 80, 79 maybe. And these kids showed up and I took their picture. And yeah, right. Oh yeah, that's the roof of the Art Institute. And G. Voucher from the British band Crass and Winston Smith, who did the artwork for Ted Kennedy's albums. And there's Marion
oh
Wallace.
yeah. And Marion
Yes,
Webster.
Marion Wallace. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Marion. Sorry.
Oh yeah, there's me with G. Voucher. I interviewed her for, I guess, a TV show that never. I don't know if it's maybe it'll air sometime in the future. And that's my bookshelves behind it. Us.
The infamous bookshelf. I
Yeah,
love that.
research. We did a TV series called the Counterculture Hour for several years, and we had people showing up like what's the name, Ryoichi Kurakawa. There's Christopher Coppola, the filmmaker. There's Anna Barato, Art Institute student. There's Mike Watt, from LA, San Pedro. There's me with Mark Pauline, Survival Research Labs, me with Monty Gazaza, who's a
Oh
very
yeah.
subversive person. You can Google him. Oh, there's me with Jello Biafra and Jean-Jacques Paris,
Hmm. I think for a while, Jello Biafra lived upstairs with you on Jones Street.
well,
A week or two, I remember.
well, that could be. That's our office, the research office, and here's some zines that of late, yeah, last few years. See, I don't see the Ballard one. And there, I have a book table outside City Lights on weekends, Saturday and Sunday. I haven't done it lately, but there I am. So it really happened. And City Lights graciously allowed me to set up a table outside their store. I
That's
also
great.
set up tables at certain other punk concerts or zine fests or other events. That's the office. Right.
Here,
All these photographers, we say thank you because, yeah,
I think if we forgot any photographers, I'm sure we have, they can go on to the YouTube channel and put it in the notes. If they saw their photograph, they can help us identify them. So I think it's time for, are you up for a question and answer period?
Sure, whatever
All
they
right.
are.
So
So we have a question from Coco Worry. Search and Destroy has such an amazing graphic layout. Some covers are very collaged and cut out, others are clean, full spreads. Were you inspired by any other magazine scenes at the time?
Of course, we're inspired by everything in our background, every image we've seen, but not consciously. I think because see, we gave I gave a lot of people assignments on publishing. Well, and we would also kind of all kind of collaborate for the strong images on the front cover and the back cover. But when doing layout, you give people columns of text of various sizes thanks to the invention of the Xerox machine, cheap, and people could almost do what they wanted. So that's why they're kind of spontaneous and freely improvised with handmade headlines and everything. And so if you give people freedom to be spontaneous, they often do good work, at least. And if it wasn't good enough, we'd fix it.
Another, we have a couple of really beautiful comments. I just want to read this one from Mel Breast. Just a comment for Vale. You saved me while I was growing up in Minneapolis in the 80s. I loved your magazine so much. I felt like there was a life somewhere for me. Ballard was a special touchstone for me. And Brianna is working at UCLA, digitizing your collection of audio cassettes right now. And she also scanned the 8mm print of the documentary you produced about Mark Pauline. So that's great. And then we have a new question here from Constanza Rare and an alumni. Thank you so much, Vale. Do you think social media has distorted counterculture and musical movements today where the political background or critique is not as present or doesn't feel as authentic? What do you miss most of your time in contrast? Well, it's a tough one.
Well, it's always better. I mean, I wish there were punk shows every night to go to, like during the 70s. It was so great. You got to know everybody, it seemed like, at least by their first name. And so there's nothing like in-person groups of people meeting, but there has to be a place they meet at. Someone has to pay the rent and maintain, an environment like that, which so as far as social media goes, well, I belong to Facebook and Instagram mainly more than Facebook, but I use it to just post pictures of people who bought stuff from me at book tables. I mean, it's quite a variety of people. You can ages too, and race, everything, and so. I find out about events through social media. Like there's a show tonight, for example, at the original Mabuhay Gardens, which is a block and a half from where I'm sitting now. So there's still stuff going on, and I guess social media is trying to fill the gap that you need publicity to get people to show up.
Speaking of which, a couple of people were here, and I guess I mentioned we would have to do a part 2 because there's so much to tell. And there's a few people said yes, they want a part 2. Maybe you might be up for interview part 2.
Sure, of course.
We didn't. 45 minutes is not enough time to cover a man's life. So, I think it's now. How's our time, Maria?
Yeah, I think I just want to read this one last comment. I think Jay Ahonen speaks for all of us. Thank you, Vivale, for providing such essential documentation of underground culture. They are a treasure for weirdos in future generations.
That's a good one.
Wow, that's great. Thank you very much. How
Yeah.
better than that?
And I would just tell anybody watching now, we have a whole collection that we're trying to build of archiving all the people who went to the Art Institute, and not all people, like Bale was not a student there, but he was a major influence on the students. So we're interviewing people like that as well to sort of have in forever a treasury of all of these theories and thoughts that people like Vale help feed us.
Oh my God, Vale, one last question, very important from Kit. Kit Watson. Vale, are you and Marian going to be releasing any new music? I loved Lockdown Lullabies.
Oh, thank you. We've kind of forgotten about
Well,
music,
someone
but
could go to Bandcamp.
yeah, our music is on Bandcamp.
Oh, right.
Research, I think it's Research
It might
Pubs.
be Research Pubs. I'm not sure how it's listed, or V-Vale or Marion Wallace. Um, but thanks for the
Yeah.
feedback,
It's
Kit Watson.
researchpubs.bandcamp.
Researchpubs.com, and then you find all the information on there and on Bandcamp. All right. Well, thank you so much, Annie, and thank you so much, Vale. Do you
And
want to say
Marion, thank you.
and Marian, does anyone want to say a last thing before I stop the recording?
Can you show everybody's picture first so we can
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
document
but
it?
oh, you want it in the recording? I think I stopped the recording before.
Okay.
Vale, are you good? Any last words?
Good. Thank you
You're
very much.
good.